coming out next year will deal mostly with the Civil War and up until 1900. Volume 1 has to do with early settlers.
Well, I know that you and Mr. Cross, Perry Cross, have, of course, been here in the county a long time, and I'm sure you're very proud of the area. How did the county of Clinton get its name?
Well, my research says it was named after Clinton Winfrey, who was the young son of the representative from Madera County who jointly sponsored the act to create the county. Another form of it is that it was named after DeWitt Clinton, who was governor of New York, and that's on our plaque here in the courthouse yard to that effect.
Mr. Cross, do you have any information on the name of the county, or what your recollections are?
That's about the way I understand the way Jack expressed it. I mostly think that most of the people think it was DeWitt Clinton from governor of New York at the time, but it could be possible it could have been the man from Madera County. I wouldn't know.
John, the speculation is that Francis Winfrey named it for his son, but he knew that that wouldn't necessarily fly in the legislature, so he had to have another party that they said it was named for, and he picked DeWitt Clinton, and it's DeWitt Clinton whose name is on the historical marker. But I suspect that Clinton Winfrey might have had something more to do with it.
Sounds like a good Kentucky political move, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Let's go back now to the city here, the county seat of Albany. How did it receive its name?
Well, if you accept that it was named, the county was named after DeWitt Clinton, then Albany would have been named after Albany, which is the capital of New York. However, there's a traditionary story about the name of the town that I'd like to tell you. There was Beanie Dale, who was reported to have lived here. Robert Cross had a large orchard here that covered this, and he was one of the first settlers on the site. And Cross and Dale together offered to give the area for the formation of the town. So they had an election to determine which location they'd have. There's a location in Ida, down in the Ida community, one here, Snow community, one here, and one at the old town of Paoli, which is just south of here. And they claim that during the election they were circulating spirituous liquors pretty freely, and they'd ask one old codger how was the election going. He'd say all for Beanie, because Beanie Dale was one of the movers to have it placed here. As the election went on and his speech became more slurred, he would say, all Beanie, all Beanie. So that's a traditionary origin of the name Albany. I don't hardly buy that.
Of course, I looked behind us and I see a nice new modern courthouse. I'm sure that there have been many courthouses before this one. And what can you tell us a little bit about the first courthouses and what happened to them?
Well, let me start that, and Perry can go ahead and finish. The first courthouse of the county was down at the old town of Paoli. William Cross was appointed the first judge of the county by the governor when Clinton County was created. He held court down there for possibly 2 years in a large structure that they had built of logs. And at the end of 2 years, they had laid off lots in Albany, sold enough to build a courthouse here, and they moved the court from down to Paoli up here. The courthouse there was tore down and sold to Reverend William Cross, the county judge. He transported it out north of Albany and used it in building a barn. Perry can tell you about some of the other buildings that was courthouses.
What about the others, Perry?
Well, I think the second courthouse was burned during the Civil War. Was it not, Jack?
Yes, it was.
And then we later, our old historic courthouse was built in 1895, and it lasted until a few years ago, and it was destroyed by fire in the 1980, and it's been 7 years ago. And then we built this modern, beautiful structure now in the latest courthouse, which we're very proud of.
In looking at Clinton County on the map, of course, we see that it borders the state of Tennessee. How actually was the county of Clinton formed, and when was it formed?
The act creating the county was passed in 1835. It was signed into law by Governor Breathitt in February of 1836, and provided that after April 1st of that year, that certain portions of Cumberland County and Wayne County would be formed into a new county to be called Clinton.
And the size of Clinton County now, what is your all's population here in the county? Do you have a general idea?
We have about 10,000 people in the county. We have around 200 square miles within the county.
If someone were traveling to Clinton County or Albany or this area, what would they want to see either of historical value or from a recreational purpose for tourism?
Give that to
Well, the first thing we'd like to do is invite everybody to come down here. It's usually the third weekend in October to our Foothills Festival. We have a fall festival here with activities centered around the downtown area, and it's fast becoming one of the biggest and best fall festivals in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We're preparing for that now. Other things, we have Lake Cumberland and Dale Hollow, which offer extensive recreation. We have wonderful dock facilities, camping, boating. We also have a golf course here and country club. And this time of year, it's in the fall of the year, it's just a wonderful place to come and drive around and look at the trees. The colors are beautiful. We think our natural beauty here is one of our finest facilities we have.
You know, they talk about the foliage in the state of Vermont, but having traveled through Kentucky myself some 40,000 miles now doing these historic tapes, and having seen all 4 seasons, including now the fall that we're in, the foliage here in Kentucky, all through Kentucky, is some of the most glorious. It's absolutely beautiful, the bright colors that we've seen.
They talk about Gatlinburg and the Smoky Mountains, and you don't have to leave Clinton County to see some of the most beautiful color in this time of the year up around Cartwright and the mountains up in Poplar Mountain. It's just as pretty as it is in Gatlinburg. The scenery is here. You don't have to drive 150 miles to see it.
Is that?
Yes, the area around Grider Hill Dock and Indian Creek Lodge has been a family-owned business for over 30 years, since the formation of Lake Cumberland in the north part of our county about 1950. Near Grider Hill and Indian Creek is 76 Falls, which is a large waterfall which cascades over into Lake Cumberland. 76 used to be an incorporated town back in the early 19th century and had several distinguished citizens of some prominence that lived around 76. That's somewhat of an unusual name, and there's some dispute as to how the town of 76 got its name. Perhaps Mr. Ferguson could relate that to us.
I don't think it was for the height of the falls. A lot of people say it is, but I think that was a station number of the surveying crew that they placed that 76 station number just above the falls.
A little bit more on the history of the area. Give us a little background, Mr. Ferguson, yourself, on how you got into this and some of the things that you discovered that are unique or interesting about the area.
Okay, I got into this when I was very young, going to grade school. I had a great uncle who was very old, and he would regale me with stories of the pioneer days and things like that. And that got me interested, and I've been hooked on it ever since. One of the things I found out after I started studying the history of Clinton County is that we've had some very notable men. Clinton County has produced 2 governors of the state of Kentucky.
Fantastic.
Governor Leslie was born up here at Cartwright, and Governor Brownlee was born out here in the Maupin community. In addition to that, Clinton County has furnished 2 governors of the state of Montana. Governor Leslie, after he left Kentucky, went to Montana and became a lawyer, and was appointed as a last territorial governor of the state of Montana before he came into the Union as a state. Samuel Ford was born here in Albany. He went to Montana, married Governor Leslie's granddaughter, and he became governor of Montana also. We produced quite a few doctors. Dr. Robert Chilton went to Texas. Dr. Buckner went to Dallas, Texas, founded Buckner's Orphans Home. We produced several evangelists and preachers of quite some renown in this county. We produced our part, I would say, of noted people.
We have a church down here. Clear Fork Baptist Church is one of the oldest churches in the country, and it is very well known. And the first pastor, I believe, was Isaac Denton, and that church has been noted a long time for its history as being one of the oldest churches in the Stockton Valley. Called it the Stockton Valley community, then covered great territory. But that is one of the oldest churches in the county, isn't it, Jack?
That's correct. It's the first church in Clinton County, really. It's the first church built down there in Clinton County. And another one who came out of Clear Fork Church was a noted evangelist, Raccoon John Smith. And quite a few people, I'm sure, have known about Raccoon John Smith.
Well, I can see that we've had some interesting, colorful stories about Clinton County. Well, shall we say, from a historical standpoint, any darker sides on the cloud, such as the Jesse James gang? We've talked about in some areas of the Commonwealth his exploits. Do we have any historical figures here that fit into that pattern?
Well, during the Civil War, we had Union and Confederate guerrillas who fought all over Clinton County. They fought a no-holds-barred war. No prisoners taken. All prisoners they killed on the spot. One of the most noted on the rebel side was Champ Ferguson. I'm sorry that I have the same name, but I have to tell you about that. Champ Ferguson was a Confederate guerrilla. Tinker Dave Beatty was a Union guerrilla. They fought each other through 4 years of the war. And Champ was finally surrendered at the end of the war, was taken to Nashville, Tennessee, tried before a military tribunal, and sentenced to be hanged.
John Basil Duke, who was a member of Morgan's Raiders and wrote a book about Morgan's cavalry following the Civil War, referred to Ferguson as the most feared man in the Confederacy. We're holding a print of the Clinton County Courthouse, the courthouse that was built in 1895 and was destroyed by fire in 1980. This is a print by a Clinton County artist, Fred Thrasher. This courthouse was constructed by Bill McDonald in 1895. The building was the best built building in Clinton County, and the old-timers say that Bill McDonald took such pride in it that he went broke as a result of its construction.
This building replaced one that was burned during the Civil War. The first building that we had, first courthouse that we had in Albany, was a brick constructed building. Sit on essentially the same side as this one. During the Civil War, some Confederate soldiers camped in the courthouse yard. They barbecuing a pig. They were building fires to keep warm and to barbecue the pig, and some of the fire got away from them, burned the courthouse. It burnt the roof off, the inside, the windows, and after the war, they repaired the old building and used it up until 1895, as David told you. Then W.L. McDonald built this present one that's shown in the picture here.
The courthouse we're now standing in front of was completed in 1982. The courthouse was built with some delay. There was some dispute as to which way the courthouse ought to face, and as you can see, the courthouse faces somewhat sideways on the square. There was a conflict between certain people in town as to which way it would face, and as a result it faces what some people might call catty-cornered. We're all very proud of the facility here. It's one of the finest new courthouses in the Commonwealth.
My name is Tony Sloan. My brothers and I operate Grider Hill Dock and Indian Creek Lodge. Our dad started it when the lake was formed in 1950. Clinton County, we think, is Kentucky's prettiest county. It goes on the west from the Cumberland River and climbs up to the step in the middle where there's a lot of fertile farmland, and then in the east you go into the mountains, which are elevation approximately 2,000 feet. But here we're standing at Lake Cumberland, one of the man-made wonders of the world, covers over 50,000 acres of land, over 100 miles long, and has 1,200